I'm a step parent. I have had days where I'm like, I don't know where my role is here.
Yeah.
I feel like stepping in. I feel like stepping out.
This is the main issue, is that they put their children before the spouse. And so even just defining that, like going into your marriage, or if you've been married a while and you're struggling with this, sitting down and redefining what your roles look like.
Whether you're a biological parent or a step parent, keep your intentions pure. Keep your focus on, I'm going to do my best to pour into the children. I'm not trying to provoke. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to disparage the other parent. I'm trying to do what I'm going to do best and pour into the children when they're with me.
Your blended family has a 100% chance of success when you do it God's way. We're Blended Kingdom Families, and we want to provide biblical resources to heal and restore families with a message of hope for the next generation.
Hey guys, welcome to the BKF Podcast. We are so excited to be with you today.
Yes, you guys, if you have not heard, there is a Blended Family Conference coming up October 5th, and we want you to be a part of it. You can join in person here in the DFW area. It's going to be at Compass Church in Colleyville, Texas, which is literally like 2 miles from the BKF headquarters. Or you can watch online with your friends and family. Get a church group together if you're in a small group. Get the virtual pass, and that way you can watch it and enjoy it together. Get equipped and encouraged in your blended family and your marriage.
It's going to be an amazing event. We got myself, Vanessa, Pastor Jimmy Evans. It's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, so you can go to the website, go to our events page, and you can sign up there.
Got it. Today,
yes,
we're going to be diving into kind of an interesting topic. We're going to talk about role confusion.
Yes.
So you hear that word and you're like, okay, what is that?
Yeah.
Simple stated, what is your role in your family?
Yeah.
What is your role as a biological parent? What is your role as a step parent, a bonus mom, bonus dad, bonus granddad, bonus whatever?
Yeah.
But what is your role and how is that perceived and accepted in your blended family? So we hear a lot of questions about it. I'm a step parent. I have had days where I'm like, I don't know where my role is here.
Yeah.
I feel like stepping in. I feel like stepping out.
Yeah.
I think there's also a big thing with stepdads is you're also the leader of your family. So you're the leader of your home, but not when somebody's not there. It gets confusing.
Yeah. Well, I think even as biological parents too, like when you've been blended for a while, right? And the step parents do, they have stepped in more and are, disciplining and things like that. I think even sometimes as a biological parent, you're like, do I step in right now because they're handling it, or do I not? And how do I support? And so I think it's really good, and we're going to talk about this, but to really talk about like your, again, like your roles, but define that and like your expectations around parenting, around disciplining. What are the boundaries between those things? And, the loyalty conflicts that you can have with your children that come along with that. And, in the inconsistent rules between households. So how do we navigate all that?
Well, and I want to say first, I don't know if there's 100% right answer.
Oh, right.
We know that every circumstance in blended families is different. Every history is different. So there's not one size fits all here.
Sure.
So I would say whatever you land on here, understand that there needs to be a little bit of give and take.
Yeah.
Depending upon the situation, the age of the children, what the history has been, all those things. But let's just start with kind of defining what a step parent is, just kind of on its surface. A step parent, in my eyes, and you may have a different definition, but this is the way I feel about it, it is an addition to a family. It is you are bringing in your love, commitment, assurance, anything that you're adding to a stepchild. And what you're not the replacement of their biological parent. You're not, in a lot of cases, the sole voice, but you are an addition. I want to say first too, as a step parent, you got to remember your role is to love their parent. Meaning, as a stepdad, my first job is to love her. My second job is to be a step parent.
Right.
So I want to make sure that I keep those goals the goals. But I can see how people get confused there.
Sure.
And people get, their roles get kind of pushed and pulled. And even biological parents push them and pull them. Right. They may push them up too fast and say, hey, I really want you to take the lead on here, when you haven't taken the time to build trust with the child or children, and it's not your time to do that yet. Yeah. So there's a give and take role there.
Yeah. I think, as a biological parent, understanding that your spouse comes first before your child, because we've talked about this before. We have that natural alliance to our child. And if you've been a single parent and then you come into the marriage, we I think by nature want to put our children above our spouse. Mm-hmm. And we coach and counsel so many couples that this is the main issue, is that they put their children before the spouse. Mm-hmm. And so I think even just defining that, like going into your marriage, or if you've been married a while and you're struggling with this, sitting down and redefining what your roles look like. What does that look like? And understanding that your spouse comes first, and then, defining, hey, when it comes to discipline and to parenting, what do we want this to look like? Yeah. What role are you going to take in this? What role am I going to take in this?
Well, I love that you started having this conversation, because a lot of couples don't.
Sure.
So they kind of go in going, okay, we'll just make it work.
Right.
We'll figure it out. I'm sure the kids will adapt well. And these are conversations that need to happen within a family. So setting clear boundaries between biological parents and step parents.
Yeah.
You got to remember, there's a lot of people involved here. So at least having a conversation of, okay, we're getting married, we're starting to blend. Let's have conversations about what that looks like. Yeah. I remember early on, when I became a step parent, I had a conversation with his father, and I said, hey, this is going to be my role. I want to make sure I respect your role as his father. Mm-hmm. These are the things I'm not going to do.
Yeah.
I said, hey, I'm not going to physically discipline. I'm not going to spank, do things like that. I just didn't feel like that was my role.
Yeah.
But I'm here to support, and I'm here to encourage, and I'm here to teach in any way I can. But it was a really intentional conversation that kind of quashed some fears.
Yeah.
That says, hey, this guy's not coming in to, do X, Y, and Z. At least they're having a conversation. And I think it's really clear, it should be really clear between, in a marriage, to say, hey, this is my role.
Yeah.
And this is what you expect from me, and this is what I expect to be done as we come into the family.
Sure. I think having that conversation with your spouse, like defining your parental roles, so to speak.
Yeah.
But also, the disciplining roles, like you were just talking about. When we first got together, I did all the disciplining with Michael until, we were probably, even 3 years in, I think, you started stepping into that. And obviously now with our son going off to college, and we have our three littles, you're the main disciplinarian, because they just don't listen to me sometimes. But also, and that's in your immediate family, your immediate blended family. But I will say, when it comes to even extended family, I know when we first got married, your mom has passed now, she's with the Lord, but in the beginning, your mom would always reach out to you to schedule like coming in town to visit and things like that. And we quickly established like, hey, that's kind of Vanessa's role, because she runs the schedule, she runs the house. And so it became one of those things where we had that conversation, and I just had to have an honest conversation with her of like, hey, I need you to come to me, when it comes to, coming in to visit or things like that, because I had, a better understanding of our schedule. Schedule. And so again, I think it's like, not just your immediate family, but also your extended family, because when you're a blended family, you're dealing with so many outside forces, so to speak. And, you have your co-parenting situation too. A lot of times, when it came to our co-parenting situation, it was me and our son's stepmom that she and I would coordinate a lot of the stuff, because I'm not saying moms do it better. Dads do a great job. But, moms,
I generally have a general rule, like more things they know what's going on.
Sure. And so, we kind of established that so that we knew who was really taking charge of that. And there wasn't the confusion, and there wasn't, opportunities for things to go, crazy or get chaotic and things like that.
Yeah. And the other thing to consider is, especially in blended families, you may have different parenting styles.
Yeah.
And different ways to get to the end, or different things that you're like, hey, this is the way I think I should do it, or this is the way it should be done. And that can be based on the way you were raised, your parents, your grandparents, the cultural background that you came from. And so if you think about it, now you've got basically, if your ex-spouse is married, and now you've got 4 co-parents that are basically all different backgrounds and saying, this is the way it should be done. And we were talking about this right before the podcast, and I think that parents have a little bit of, I'm not going to say delusion, but we have a little bit of like, this is, if I do it this way, this is what's going to happen.
Sure.
And I think we forget that kids have free will. They can make their own decisions, especially as they get to be adults.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a cause and effect relationship, meaning I'm not going to absolutely predict the future of my children by what I do. So we have these different parenting styles, but we all need to have a little bit of grace for each other to say, hey, we're all coming from different directions. We all have something that we're bringing that's different. You have to believe that you all have the best interest of the children at heart, but you may not always agree with what the other person does.
Yeah.
One person may be a little bit more lax in their rules. One person may be very, very strict in their rules.
Sure.
At the end result, if that child, becomes an adult, they're going to make their own decisions.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have input, but we don't need to let those conflicting styles be barriers in our communication. We need to have a little bit of a healthy respect for each other to say, hey, we're all going in the right direction of interest, but let's have communication and say, at least we'll have a conversation about it.
Yeah, and I would say give yourself grace in the process, because sure, Scott and I have established, when the boys act up, you step in because they listen to dad. It's something about the dad voice. But also I would say that, give yourself some grace, because you're going to learn those things along the way. When it comes to, they get to a certain age where they might start saying potty words. If they say a potty word, what is this? Or, right now it's like electronics. If they want to get on their Switch or get on Xbox and they know they're not supposed to play a certain game or things like that, what is the punishment for that? So as, your children, fall into things that they're not supposed to be doing, those are going to provide opportunities for you and your spouse, especially when it comes to the parenting and the disciplining, where you can say, hey, what did we learn from this? What do we want to do moving forward? What do we want the discipline to look like? Are you going to take it? Am I going to take it? If I'm here with the kids and you're not? So we're not going to have it all figured out, Yes, we need to have the conversations. We need to, have a foundation and a basis of what that's going to look like. But as, things, like you said, kids have free will.
Yeah.
As they do things, we're going to learn along the way, oh, this is a new thing we've encountered. This is the punishment for that. This is the discipline. And, I'm going to do this or you're going to do this.
Yeah, and I love that we've kind of hit on discipline a lot, because one of the biggest problems in kind of role confusion with parents is inconsistent rules. Oh, sure. So here we have this situation where at dad's it's this way and at mom's it's this way. And I can just put myself as the role of a 10-year-old going, dude, this is so confusing.
Sure.
Over here I can say this and I don't get in trouble. But over here, if I even say something close, I get in trouble. Here I can play my game. Here I can't. And I think that, kids get very frustrated. They're trying to find rhythm and a pattern for their childhood, and they can come to you and say, hey, I don't understand this. Why do I get in trouble here and I don't get in trouble here? And I think, one, we have to be, have honest conversations with our kids. I think one of the worst things you can say to a child is, don't worry about it, that's just the rule. And we're not kind of explaining things. We're not having, more detailed conversations of, hey, I understand that this rule may be different here, but over here, this is our rule and this is the way we do things.
Yeah.
And this is why we do that. And I'm not saying that you're wrong or they're wrong if they don't do it our way.
Right.
But I'm just saying, at our house, this is the way we do this. And explain to them that they do have 2 houses they live in, and that the rules could be different. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But this is the way we do it, and we're going to have respect over here. And at least creating an open dialogue. If you can then go to the next level and go to that co-parent and say, hey, listen, we're having an issue here because you're doing this and I'm doing this. I'm not saying you're right or I'm right. I'm saying, hey, can we find a medium ground that our kid's not going to be confused?
Well, I think that happens not just in the co-parenting situation, but in the home. There have been times where I've said yes, you've said no, and vice versa. And the boys are like, ooh, I can play mom and dad, and we're not on the same page. And so that's, even that right there, that's where whoa, we got to come together. Or the inconsistency of, you tell them, hey, if you do that again, you're going to be grounded. And then you've told them 3 times and they're still not grounded.
Yeah.
So, just remaining consistent in our parenting and discipline.
Yeah.
And I love, because in scripture, and we've talked about the scripture before on the podcast, and we've all heard the scripture, and it's Proverbs 22:6. And it says, train up a child in the way he should go, even when he is old, he will not depart from it. And I love that the study version that I have, it says here that to train up, it means to dedicate or to initiate. And, by pointing to the kinds of conduct that please or displease the Lord. And training will include love and instruction. And so as we're, training, like we're dedicating our time and we are initiating these things, but we're doing it with love and we're doing it with instruction. And like you said, I think kids are curious. So explaining to them why and instructing them of, hey, you did this is why this is going to happen now. And, I love you, but, this is what is going to happen.
Well, the absence of discipline leads to chaos.
Sure.
And chaos leads to additional chaos. So don't ever step out of your parental role, whether you're a biological parent or a step parent. You've been given an assignment, and you need to take that seriously, and you need to take that with the intentionality that goes with raising children. Our kids don't just willy-nilly themselves into great adults.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility, and we need to be aware of that. So I love that you said dedicated and intentionality, because those are 2 things that we can actually initiate and say, I'm dedicating this time. I'm going to make sure that I have intentionality about what I'm teaching, so that when it comes to role confusion, I kind of want to bring this all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
We know that children that have, 3 or 4 parents, that it can get confusing.
Sure.
What I want to encourage you, as whether you're a biological parent or a step parent, is number 1, be dedicated to the process. Keep your intentions pure, meaning keep your focus on, I'm going to do my best to pour into the children. I'm not trying to provoke. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to disparage the other parent. I'm trying to do what I'm going to do best and pour into the children when they're with me.
Yeah.
And I think if you do that, you're going to find that you may have bumps along the way, because this is not an ideal situation for children to grow up in. But the end result is when those children become adults, and this is where that verse in Proverbs comes in, it says, even when he is old, he will not depart from it. That doesn't mean that they may not find different ages where they're straying away.
Sure.
It means that we're planting seeds that will grow and harvest as that person becomes older and more mature.
Absolutely. That was so good. I love the way that you explained that.
So we're going to be doing a lot of great podcasts this season. We're excited about that. And again, if you are diving into this material and you're in the DFW area, take the next step in this. The Blended Family Conference is an amazing event that you can come and communicate with other blended families. You can be encouraged. You can start plugging into really great resources and people and groups, and it just makes your entire blended family experience so much better and so much more enriching.
Well, and we also have a pre-marriage coaching group that is coming up starting in September. And Scott and I will be leading this, you guys. It's a 5-week process. And we discuss things just like this in that pre-marriage coaching group. And so if you are beginning to blend or just blended, guys, we want to invite you to take the opportunity to sign up for that. Go to the website, go to our groups, our events page, and it should be on there. And we would love to have you be a part of that as well. You can also find more information at blendedkingdomfamilies.com. We love you guys. We hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.
Be blessed in all that you do.
Hey friends, so glad you were here with us today, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. You can find more resources from Blended Kingdom Families at blendedkingdomfamilies.com. Join us again next time as we talk about more blended family topics. Be blessed in all that you do, and remember, nothing will be impossible with God.